Welcome to Empower Ed, a PICET podcast where we talk about the issues that matter most to families, schools, and communities. I'm Ileana Gallego, and together we're unlocking the power of education. As families, educators, and community members, we all play a role in shaping the environment where students learn and grow. But few roles are as essential or as influential as those held by school board members. Today, we're joined by two school board members who bring valuable experience and perspective from the districts they serve. They're also my colleagues at PICE. Liz Cabrera is PICE's Vice President of Program and Impact, and Adolfo Lopez, our Community Engagement Manager. Their combined backgrounds in education, community work, and school governance give them a unique understanding of how school boards operate and why strong, informed leadership matters for families and students everywhere. In this conversation, we'll explore what school boards actually do, how their decisions impact our schools, and why community representation is important. With all of that in mind, please welcome our guests, Liz and Adolfo. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
To begin with our conversation, could you tell us a little bit about yourselves and the school board you serve on?
Yeah, definitely. I'll get started. I'm the proud daughter of immigrants from San Jose de Gracia, Jalisco, Mexico, and I'm the first one in my family to go to college. I've lived in Bell Gardens my entire life, so I've gone through the school system of the school board that I currently represent and the community that I represent. Montebello Unified is comprised of more than 9 cities, and one of them being Bell Gardens. We have over 20,000 students, a lot of them, over 27% being English language learners, 95%, above 95% identify as Hispanic and Latino. And so just wanted to share a little bit about the composition of my school district.
Thank you, Liz. Adolfo.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Adolfo Lopez. Like Liz, my family is also from Tecalitlan, Jalisco, Mexico. So I'm the firstborn of a family of 5 children that I was born and raised here in Modesto, California, a part of the Central Valley. And the district that I represent is the district that I went to through all my academic career. And, it's a district that's also comprised of over 75% English learners and Latino community. It's a ever-growing community that has really embraced diversity. And so in 2017, I ran for school board and I was elected. So for now, 8 years, I've been a part of the school board, hoping to ensure that all of our students have the resources that they need to succeed.
Thank you, Adolfo. That's wonderful. So now that we know a little bit more about you, can you help everyone understand the bigger picture? How can you explain what a school board does and what is the role of a school board member?
Yeah, do you want to get started, Adolfo?
I can. So school board members and how really help shape the goals and outcomes of our school district, right? They help set goals, ensure that our superintendent is delivering on those goals, and overall ensuring that success follows that, right? And so we're constantly seeing that the programming, that the support that we're investing in is actually showing fruit. And so more than anything, we ensure that our students are getting the education that they deserve.
Thank you. Anything else, at least, you want to add?
No, I would just add on to that, that if I could break it down into big picture, maybe the top 4 things that we do is, evaluating the superintendent and hiring if needed, approving the district's budget, passing policies, and as Adolfo already mentioned, making big decisions and giving direction.
Perfect. Are there any specific topics that come to mind, like to understand what topics you usually discuss rather than the ones you just shared?
Like, again, the approval of the budget is a lot of things, approving the LCAP, approving all the expenditures that are related to the district. We get the final say or the final vote on that. But I do want to make the distinction that we shouldn't be in the day-to-day. It's really we as board members give direction in the what needs to get done, not how it gets done. The how is managed by the superintendent and all the staff.
Oh, that's great. That's a great clarification. Okay, so I want to know how you became a school board member. What was your motivation to run for the seat?
So I've been a part of my community all my life, but aside from that, I've worked in community organizing for the last now I want to say more than 15 years, working with diverse communities to ensure that our voices are being heard in systems of change. And so when this opportunity, I guess I had to make a distinction. So before 2017, the school district chose its board members by at-large district elections. I mean, any uh, resident of that school district could apply and run for the school board. They would choose the top 3 or the top 4, depending on how many were up for reelection that year. And that's how you got elected. In 2017, thanks to a great group of individuals, leaders in the community that said we need to have adequate representation throughout our school district, ensuring that every community has a voice.
Mm.
They worked together to turn those at-large elections to district elections. So the district got divided up into 7 areas. The area that I lived in all my life was up first for reelection that year. And so I thought that we needed a voice that really encompassed the realities of our community. And by no stretch do I think that I was that person, but I think I spoke a lot about stepping up and ensuring that our voices were heard. So I decided to take my own advice and ran. And so fortunately, a majority of our community thought that I would be such representation. And so I was elected in 2017. And education for me was always a difficult topic growing up. I wasn't the best straight A student. I was middle of the road. And so I really felt that representation needed to be on board, ensuring that our kids don't fall through a crack, because I was never a super problematic student. I was never a really good student. I was all middle of the road. As folks say in Spanish, siempre pasaba de panzazo. So like barely, getting by. And so I think that there's a lot of at-promise students that fall into those cracks because they stay silent in the middle, right? And so we need to ensure that all of our students have the resources they need so that they're not stuck in there, that they don't fall.
That is wonderful. It's great that they have somebody like you in there. Yes. Lise, what was your experience? What motivated you?
Yeah, so I'll be very honest. I did not want to run. I had always been involved in my community, in particular in the school community, was editor-in-chief of the newspaper, did as much as I could. And when I came back from college, always wanted to mentor as much as I could and still do. Um, my way of helping my community was always through education. And so I was in the classroom, and then after a few years of being in the classroom, I transitioned into the family engagement space. So I've been in this space for over 10 years. And I didn't want to do it. A few people approached me like, hey, we think you do a great job. And my answer was always no, I'm not a politician. And in 2020, there ended up being a vacant seat in Montebello Unified. And I started learning a lot more about, what the board does, what we're responsible for. And there had never been a Bell Gardens representative on the board, even though 1/3 or close to 1/3 of the schools in our district are in Bell Gardens, the south part of our district, and then the area in most need. And we are still at large, right? And so all representatives from we're representing all other cities, in particular up north. And there's a difference. There's a big difference between the communities up north and down south. And so that's what motivated me. That and feeling that Bell Gardens needed a voice, that when called upon, I will serve whenever possible. And a lot of, like right now, my nieces, my nephews are in there, my cousins, my entire family basically has gone through the system. And so I think it's my responsibility to be able to support in whichever way I can, bringing in my experience and my expertise.
And so now you mentioned you didn't want to run, and now you seem like you are very engaged in this school board member role that you have. What is something that you really enjoy of being a school board member?
I think for me, seeing the little wins, right, and holding on to them. Anytime I can interact with families and students, that's my favorite part. I'll be honest, because you can get stuck in making a lot of big decisions which are important, controversial situations. But when you turn to the students and you see them performing, you see them excelling, you see them interacting with their families, and just that joy, I really hold on to that, because at the end of the day, that's why we do it, right? We want them to be successful, happy individuals, and also a happy and successful community, and thinking in particular about the family unit. So I hold on to that.
Mhm. How about you, Adolfo? Something you enjoy or a positive change that you've seen during your time on the board?
Well, I have many. I think, like Liz mentions, the small wins, the small little moments that you see the work that you've been striving for flourish, right? And so I can think of two scenarios, and I'll try to be brief about them. So part of also being a board member is advocating not just within the board, but with partners in community around these topics that have relevancy in our community and in our schools. One of them being passing bonds to get funding for infrastructure. And so in 2018, the voters of Modesto passed a bond that would bring $75 million into our community to invest in infrastructure in the schools, in the school setting. So a lot of our facilities were super outdated, right? The earliest one was constructed in the 1970s. And I think our oldest one was in the 1920s. So 1920 to 1970s, they needed an upkeep. There was a big binder that we called the $1 billion repair, which was all the repairs that needed to happen in our school district to be up to date. And so 75 million was a good start, but it wasn't going to be the end all be all to our solution. But thanks to the voters, we passed that. And in one of the schools in my district, their cafeteria was maybe the size of a 20 by 20 space. And so students, there was a couple of chairs there, a couple of tables there. And our lunch period ran from 10 a.m. all the way to 1 p.m. And so students in that school, the kindergartens will go first. But if you were a sixth grader, you weren't having your meal until like 1 o'clock, close to 1 o'clock. And so because the size was so small.
Mhm.
And so one of the priorities in advocating is that we ensured that school received one of the first round of funding to build a new multi-purpose facility, which will house our kitchen, our cafeteria, and then a space for everyone to convene. And so the moment that I was stepping inside that cafeteria with all of the school in one place at one time was such a beautiful experience to be a part of. It was really emotional. I remember feeling like I was asked to speak in the ribbon cutting, so that was very nerve-wracking because you see all the work that you have put in, you see all the work that other folks have invested into it, and to see from that point when you were a new board member, because this happened relatively um, the bond started happening like relatively after I came on the board, and being a part of that and going and knocking on doors to get this bond passed, to speaking to our facility managers, to our principals, and saying, hey, what are their needs, what should go first, and having that conversation with that principal about, we really need a cafeteria soon. And then to be in that space, that it's just, you can't describe that feeling of like accomplishment. So this happened 5 years after the bond passed. So, but we got it right. And so scenarios like that have been happening in our district for the last 7 years now. And so we're really excited about that. The other one is about connecting our community to our schools. A lot of times in districts, we feel like we hold the whole truth, or we hold all the resources to create the changes that need to happen. But a lot of times the issues affecting our education don't stop at our school gates. And so we brought in this program where we were working with parents to be a part of the school system in a formal way, becoming parent ambassadors, so that they will go out and talk to community, bring resources back into the schools, and vice versa, be that bridge between the parents and our schools. And so they were And one of the a year after they initiated this program, the parent ambassadors came back and gave a report to the board, and they were talking about how, and one of the parent ambassadors had created a food pantry service where parents were coming and accessing food for their students. And so in one of those visits, they saw that one of the moms that was coming was to get these food was a mom that they had been looking for because her son was not getting the attention that they needed in the school setting, so that he was failing behind on grades, he was not being participate in the class. And so through that program, through offering food to our parents, they were able to find this mom. They spoke to her, and so they were talking about the great work that the kid had been doing. And so finding those opportunities to connect to communities sometimes help the work that we're doing in the classroom. And so those two moments were like, I think the aha, or the moments like the work that we're doing is actually paying off.
Exactly. Like all your hard work is paying off.
Mhm.
Liz, do you have any moments you want to share that you have in mind?
I'll be honest, there are too many, and so I'll just stick with what I shared, which is just a general feeling and excitement of hearing from families and students.
Okay, so another thing that I want to understand is neither of you have children in the districts where you are, right? So what motivates you to help the community? Because many times we think of if we're going to be involved in school is because our kids are there. And this is not the case. So what is that? What is it that motivated you?
For me, just my family, my parents, both my mom and my dad, but in particular, my dad, there's never a question of whether we're going to serve and help. In the instance of my family, it's always been helping our community in Mexico, San Jose de Gracia. And so it's something that I just grew up knowing that I'm here to serve in
Mhm.
again in whichever way that I can. And as I mentioned, like my entire family has gone through the system. My little niece is currently in third grade at the same elementary school I went to and her dad went to, and the rest of her tias went to. And so that's why it's important. And I think as I think about the school board, I don't think a lot of people know about school boards and why they exist, what happens, what we do as school board members. And it's so important because we manage big, large budgets of money. And so we make very important decisions on how taxpayers' money is used and how it's used to serve the community, right? And so I think for me, it's just that example of my family and just knowing that whether we like it or not as individuals, like we are part of a system, we need to better understand it and know what we can do, which in my case is by serving as a school board member to make it better. Like I want to leave this world having left it a better place, whether it is by a lot or by a little, right? And so whatever I can do, poner mi granito de arena, put my little, bit of change is what I'm gonna do. But that's what motivates me. It's just a part of who I am and how I grew up.
Mhm. And you're right. I don't think most people know or understand what a school board does. And that's why we're having this conversation. And you both mentioned the importance of being in for you to represent your community. But how about on the other side? Like, why would you say it's important for parents to know who serves on their school board?
I I think it's I think it's important for our families, especially our parents, to know who's making decisions for them, right? And when we talk about the process of voting, many times we see a name, we might see flyers, right? But really, we have to go beyond that and have, as elected officials, it's our duty to be close to our constituents, right? And likewise, and for constituents and for our families, it's important for them to be a part of this system, a part of this community, in the sense you need to know who's representing, who's making those decisions on a day to day for your families, because at one point or another, your son or your daughter is going to feel it, right? Your daughter is gonna see the effects of the decisions that were made maybe 5, 10, or a year ago, right? And so it's always important that they know, because that way they know, they can have access to them and understand where those decisions are coming from. And if us as elected officials aren't cutting it, so you know that what we need is new leadership, right? And so it's always important for parents to be a part of that process. And the main point, or the main reason, I think, is because then you help that official, that elected official, be beholden to the community. You help bring a perspective that they might not be listening to, because for us as elected officials, it's our duty to know the community we serve. But a lot of times, if we're not hearing it, we're not bringing it into the space of change. And so we need your voices. We need you to know who we are, so that you can have access to us and let us know what we're still missing.
Thank
And
you.
if I can add just a specific example, sometimes parents go directly to council members, city council members, with concerns related to the school district, right? And so because I do have relationships with several of the cities that are part of my school district, they're like reach out to X board member, right? They're able to redirect them. But I'm sharing this example because let's say a parent does have questions and does want to change something but doesn't know about the school board, who the school board members are, and takes it to someone else, and that energy is going to be wasted energy, right? Because you're not bringing it to the people who can do something about it. And so that's why I think it's important for people to know who their board members are, to better understand. I'm not saying all the ins and outs, but like what we do, what we manage, what we approve, what we, can oversee, so that any concerns can really come to the people that should be hearing them.
And that brings me to my next question. How do they get in touch with the school board representatives?
Yeah, I think for me, it's they can call the district office. My email is public. My phone number, I know several community members have it. Doesn't mean that everyone does, but I'm accessible through my school district phone number. And then families can always come to meetings and make public comments if they do want to publicly share something, whether it is concerns or outreaching to some of us. And so there are several opportunities. And it's also the onus is also on us, right, to make sure that we find ways to better connect with the community. But those would be very tangible ways that they can reach out.
Thank you. Adolfo, anything else?
No, likewise. I think our information is available through our individual district websites, but also I have to address the importance, and I know, and again, this conversation is a responsibility and what is the duty that we have as board members, right? What's the responsibility for parents, and what's the responsibility for school board members? As we seek to make ourselves more accessible, and much more importantly, make our districts accessible to the community, it's also, we need to hear from you. We need to see you in the spaces that we've created for you to be a part of. One of those being the school board meetings, right? Um, Many times when very pressing issues, which we've seen um, throughout, like, the throughout the state in the last couple of years, while these issues come up, what we fail to see is more parent input in the school board setting. And so find out when your school board meetings are, attend, because those are the most visible opportunities to really voice your opinion. And there's many metrics for you to do so, but we need you to be a part of that. We need you to actually be in those spaces so that we can actually do the work that you entrusted us to do. And we can't do it if we don't know that there's areas of need.
And this is wonderful because I even think that many parents don't even know that they can do that, that they can attend, and that you guys are willing and hoping to listen to their concerns. So this is wonderful. Well, it's time to wrap up. Oh, anything else?
No, I was going to say, and it's our job to make sure that those board meetings are in times that are also available to the majority of our families.
And they're usually in the afternoon?
The
Yes.
evenings.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, it's time to wrap up our episode. I want to give a very special thank you to Liz and Adolfo for taking the time out of their very busy schedules to share their insights and experiences with us. If today's discussion sparked your curiosity, consider reaching out to your school board representatives, attending a meeting like we just heard, or even exploring how you can get involved yourself. Together, we can continue building a school community where every voice matters and every student has the opportunity to thrive. Thanks again for listening, and remember to follow us and like us. Until next time, thank you, Adolfo and Liz.
Thank you.
Thanks.